this one, I'll tell you what. All right. For guests and visitors, my name is Steve Fairley, Club President. I'd like to welcome you all to the 8th meeting of the 47th year of the Dublin Worthington Rotary Club. Today's invocation and pledge of allegiance will be offered by the one and only Al Wu.
Let's bow our heads. Father, thank you that you have brought me safely to this place. As we gather, we remember those who are not with us today. For those who are sick, we ask for healing. For those away from us, we ask for your blessing to be on them.
Welcome.
In this lunchtime,
You guys have a great day.
time to share with others, time to those who love us, time to dwell upon those who sacrifice. Remember your
Yeah, looking at me, you see, I got a 10.
name we pray. Amen.
Share screen at the bottom.
I think he's got it.
Wow.
Look at that.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Teresa, can you introduce any guests or visiting Rotarians?
I think we have a visitor with Jennifer Betts, if you want to introduce. She knows.
So I have with me my sister Jody Cooper, who is here to be recognized for her service on the foundation.
Fantastic. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're back from last week.
Jim Allen.
Jim Allen.
Yes.
One clap welcome for Jim Allen. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back, Jim.
And I can't see any of the participants on the.
We have
Yes.
other guests on Zoom, but they will be introduced later
Okay.
by Rich and crew. So we'll hold off on that. Our program today will be introduced in a little bit by Mark Beaver, but first we have a sergeant. And our sergeant's name is Mike Bolton.
All right, what do I do this at?
Yeah, just right here. Point the camera at you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you.
I get to keep what's in there.
Let's see, who do we need? Who are we gonna get here? Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while. You wanna carry the pot for me since you're still standing up? Good to see you, Nick. Any happy dollars for, let's see, let's try online first. And see who we have online. Anybody? Come on, step right in there. Jim, you ought to throw in $1 just for talking while we were doing the pledge.
Yeah.
Anybody else? See any hands up here?
No.
All right, hop in the room here. We'll start with
I have a couple happy
Joe in
dollars.
front.
One, the kids are back at school, so it's quiet. One, we have a brand new puppy, so it's not quiet anymore. 3 more for various happy things that happened when I had no money and can't remember what they are.
Try 6 of them. Well, I'm happy about that. All right.
I'm happy to announce that I've become a MedVet citizen.
Congratulations.
Because I'm closing in on a house very soon.
See someone else back here, Mary?
I'm happy that my son has recovered from COVID viral pneumonia, and we almost lost him, but he is now back at home.
Oh, and then we'll do Rich. That's okay, Rob.
Sorry. I have a happy dollar because today my granddaughter Colette started 1st grade.
Yeah, I'm gonna put in $4. First, $1 for each of the award winners today, Jody Cooper, Catherine Potts, Sandy Byers. And then another $1, since you're the sergeant today, for the undefeated Cleveland Browns.
All right. Tom Ross.
I'm gonna brag today. I'm a proud grandfather. My granddaughter is attending Ohio State University on a scholarship in the honors program in business school. And my grandson's on the golf team and he was medalist last week and shot 72 at golf course. He's doing very well.
Nice. Pete Barnhart.
I'm gonna put in I'll put in $2 happy. Weather permitting, Judy will join me for the first time in 6 weeks. July 8th, she had her knee replaced. Doctor last Thursday said you're good to go. She's gonna play 9 and dine at York today.
Couple of them. One, we're expecting boy number 3 on maybe a happier dollar as we're finishing our basement so we can send them all down.
All right, good job. Anybody else over there? Kim Carey.
First $1 is for Mike and Eric Bolton for winning the Cheaters Golf League. I thought you were gonna put in $1 yourself. So
I got $5 because the last time we won the league was 5 decades ago. It was in the 80s. So we've been hacking around that league for this long and just finally won it last Wednesday. So that's my.
And my second $1, our older son John is out in Woodland Hills. He writes film scores. Grew up a big fan of Star Wars and John Williams in his music. John Williams is turning 90 and he's conducting the LA Philharmonic in the Hollywood Bowl next weekend. My wife and I are going out to join John at that. On our way, we're going to Minneapolis to the Ohio State game, so it's kind of a cool.
Nice. Woo! We got one over here.
My happy $5 seeing the joy on my son's face when he learned what it was to be in the percussion section of the marching band and how much it like ramped up the whole entire crowd when they did their little thing. That was an awesome sight.
That's all we have. So we'll move on. Anybody in the crowd that's an August birthday? Teresa, anybody else? Ken? You throw in $1 just for mom having to have a baby in August. You know, how does this turn in August?
That's a percentage.
So, let's see. Tom, we're giving Tom Rise a get $1 from Tom for winning golf prizes and didn't collect until tomorrow. So, who else we got? Al Zink. Al Zink's over here.
He's not here.
Where'd you get that funny looking helmet you posted on Facebook? I saw those pictures.
Hey, it ought to be a law that every bicycle rider should wear a helmet.
I know, but you at least get a guy's colors. You have to wear your wife's helmet. Let's get $1.
I'll be glad to put in $1 for the recognition. I thought you were gonna get me for dressing like Jerry. Shirt on.
Yeah.
Next, sorry.
That is a law in 22 states.
Let's see here. Well, I'm kind of unprepared for this since I've just got to notice today that I started. So, anybody, if you're not wearing a Rotary logo or Rotary pin, just get $1 from me. Oh, yes, sir. Just get your sister fake.
I haven't gotten to that box yet.
Yeah. That box is still buried. Al, that box is still buried in the attic. It is going to be there a while.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna finish up with the joke. Jerry's got it started on all these jokes. So, have you heard the one about the rabbi, the priest, the cleric, and the landscaper? I better not tell you that one. Thanks, everybody.
Wait, watch the cord.
That's all.
Announcements. If anyone has any announcements, please make your way up to the front of the room. First announcement I have is that I did speak to Jim Miller yesterday. He is at home now and he seems to be doing pretty well. Is Dave Hanson here?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Dave, do you want to share any more?
Well, yes, I had a 15-minute conversation with Jim. He is home now, as Steve mentioned. He had a relapse. In fact, I believe that they removed about 1.09 liters of fluid from around his heart. And indeed, he said that it was an excruciating experience to spend 20 days in the hospital. He feels so good now that he's home. And I would ask all of you, please give him a quality. And I know that he would appreciate that. I know he misses Rotary and he wants to get here with us as soon as possible.
Thank you, Dave. Alan, do you have another?
I do, yes. Another reminder that the Bill Schatz Memorial Golf Outing is on September 20th. It's a Monday at Toyota Reserve. Registration is 8. Shotgun start at 9, so please put your teams together, get yourself registered through the Powell Chamber of Commerce. If you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Nick or Jerry?
Rotary Family Picnic, we still have lots of volunteer spots available. About half of the club so far has either signed up or let me know that they're not available. So since I've got all of you here and you're a captive audience, I'm passing around a sign-up sheet. And please do put your name in. We need folks for food tent. We need folks for cleanup. We need folks for tear down the Rotary tent, games and activities. So please put your name on here and get signed up. That's Sunday, September 5th from 3 to 7.
So how long is the shift?
Shifts are 2 hours.
Okay.
Unless you're in the tear down shift, it's only an hour and a half. So if you want to get home a little early.
Thank you.
I have an announcement about Rara tonight. Don't forget about it. I know if you haven't signed up, that's okay. Just come. I just wanted to do this estimate of people, so we're not like completely shocking Rara already when we go over there. And it is located right next to the Dublin AMC, so hope to see you all there. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Katie. On the communications committee front, this is part 2 of picture day. So if you've not already got your picture by Alan, stay a little bit after and he will take your picture for the website and DAC TV and all that good stuff, social media. If you have a headshot you want to use, go ahead and email it to Alan. Dave King, pay $1 for your phone going off. Also, I have a sign-up sheet, so we are very woefully inadequate on greeters. So I'm going to pass this around with a pen, and you guys are going to have it all filled out by the time we're done, right?
How long is the shift?
30 minutes.
4 hours.
Okay. Rich, I believe you are up. A little special program today, and Rich will lead us through it.
Thank you.
So I just want to make sure, I thought I saw Sandy and Catherine. I hope you're able to hear us and you'll also be able to speak towards the end. Hi, Sandy.
Sandy, you got to unmute. There you go.
Sorry, we needed to unmute there. Thank you.
So
Can you hear us?
I think everyone is aware today, we're going to just do a Paul Harris Fellow Community Service Award presentation. Sandy Byers, for Jody Cooper, and Catherine Paul. Just very briefly to explain, thank you, my involvement with this. Jim Miller, our past president, approached me last fall about coming up with some type of process for a Paul Harris Fellow Community Service Award to be sponsored by the club, where the club would actually sponsor a Paul Harris Fellowship for up to 3 nominees per year, per Rotary year, based on, again, the leadership and the community service that individual is either provided over an extended period of time to either the Worthington or the Dublin communities. And also, I think an important part of it is that what they did really met the Rotary motto about service above self. And I think these 3 award winners exemplify that. And we did have a committee that was formed. Mary Greenlee, Don Motley, and Darnell Perkins joined me in deliberating about this. But the choices this year were frankly very easy. They were really no-brainers because these 3 nominees, their accomplishments really speak for themselves. So I would like Mary Greenlee, Jerry Katz, and John Butterfield already up here. We're going to first start with the nomination for Sandy Byers. So John, why don't you come up here?
Okay, great.
And
I do this? Okay, thank you very much.
Explain why you and Nick Lehmkuhl
Okay,
nominated Sandy.
okay.
John, where's your camera?
My camera is right there with George.
His phone.
But so, I'm delighted to join with Nick in recognizing Sandy Byers as one of the club's first recipients of the Paul Harris Fellow Community Award. I first met Sandy during the city's bicentennial in 2003. I had talked with fellow Rotarian and then City Council President Lou Gurry about creating a legacy project for the bicentennial that addressed the health and wellness of Worthington residents. His response was, "You need to talk to Sandy Byers." Sandy had been the health and wellness director, wholeness director at Worthington Presbyterian Church, had been a nursing administrator at Riverside Methodist Hospital, and held a number of leadership positions in health and nursing fields, in addition to holding a PhD in policy and leadership educational administration from the Ohio State University. With a lifelong passion for improving the health and wellness of individuals and communities, Sandy enthusiastically accepted the challenge. She brought together a talented group of people to promote the physical, intellectual, emotional, social, and spiritual health and well-being of those who lived and worked in the greater Worthington area. The organization was the Healthy Worthington Coalition, which subsequently led to the creation of the Worthington Resource Pantry, where Sandy served as board chair for many years. She did all that while serving on the Worthington City Community Relations Commission, the Worthington Substance Abuse Task Force, now called Worthington Cares, and the board of directors of the Ohio Presbyterian Retirement Community and the Worthington International Friendship Association. And in her spare time, she became a graduate of the Worthington Police Citizens Academy and the Fire Department Citizen Action Team. She was even a member of our club for 2 years. As you can tell, Sandy has had a difficult time of saying no to most requests. It just isn't in her vocabulary. And she has always loved people, the challenge of change and new ideas, and the opportunity to contribute her gifts to benefit others. And we, the residents and business people in the Worthington area, are the ones who have benefited from Sandy's passion, drive, energy, intellect, determination, and kindness to improve the lives of others in the Worthington community. Through her leadership and service to others, she has demonstrated why she is a worthy recipient of this award. A resident of Worthington for 54 years, Sandy moved earlier this year to Plymouth, Massachusetts. We miss her, but we're glad that she can be with her daughter and family members. And it's exciting to see Sandy once again on the screen with her amazing smile and sparkling blue eyes. Thanks, Sandy, for all you've done for our community, and congratulations on this award.
Sherry, you can go next, but John, why don't you stay up here, because at the end, I'm going to present the certificates.
Okay, great.
To the,
Our next speaker will be.
So So Mary Greenlee and Jennifer Best nominated Catherine Paugh for the award, and I'm going to have Mary explain why that they nominated her.
Catherine Paugh is an exemplary model of service above self. She consistently has demonstrated her service to the greater Worthington community and beyond. Catherine has a laser focus on serving others by helping them make positive and productive connections. It is this focus that prompted Jennifer and me to place her name in nomination for the Rotary Award. Thank you, Jennifer, be with me. Catherine Paugh is also a collaborator extraordinaire and regularly has brought together area organizations to successfully work together. Participating organizations have included government, schools, libraries, health, human services, multicultural relationships, and a support for women in business. Additionally, she has helped to connect the business and residential communities of Worthington and this area and region through fundraising, education, and advocacy. Catherine has also connected parts of our community by convening and participating in important conversations about issues that affect the quality of life in our community and the economic vitality. During 4 decades, not 5 like Sandy, but 4, since Catherine moved to Worthington, she has made the growth and sustainability of Worthington a primary objective, not only personally, but professionally. We also want to recognize her ability to build authentic connections with friendships. Those friendships enhanced her ability to serve others above herself. She was nicknamed in 1990 Mrs. Worthington. Catherine was tirelessly encouraging strong collaborative relationships between Worthington schools, libraries, businesses, city, government, and many of our area community groups. We believe that Catherine is an integral member of our community who walks the walk in service above self.
Now, last but not least, Jerry is going to talk about Jody Cooper regarding her service to the Dublin.
And my fellow nominator, Alan Grossman over here to my right, because we only see her about 10 times a year, it is outstanding. But let me just kind of remind you of a few things. Life is a wonderful condition, but life can be hard at times. And as your mother told you, life is not fair, and it's no bed of roses. Some families are always on the edge, always on the edge. They eke out a living. They have limited skills. They have limited economic resources. And most importantly, quite frankly, they have limited emotional abilities. Now, when the economic situations arise, that test goes in all areas. And what do you do when the economic situation is dire? Well, some turn to your foundation. And many, that foundation is really personified by Jody Cooper. Her role is very, very difficult. Don't think you can appreciate how difficult it is, actually, to determine whether the situation at hand is cured by money or not. What will next month look like? is the question that your foundation always asks of those that we're about to help. Jody needs to be able to determine that. Can you imagine how difficult that really is? You have a situation in front of you where children are at risk. And yet, in order to meet your foundation's requirements, she has to screen through that. You know how hard it would be to tell somebody, I can't help you. I know you're being evicted next week, but I can't help you. I know your kid needs medical help, but I can't help you. Jody does that. She weeds through that, if you will, and brings to your foundation those cases that we are glad to help. We want to help. But you have to play by the rules. Jody's the referee. She calls the fouls, if you will. And that's not an easy thing to do. She's done this for years. Jody will probably be the first to tell you she wonders why I'm up here. Because she and I don't always see eye to eye. Can you imagine that?
One time.
Can you imagine that?
One time.
But we still make it. So Jody is very well qualified for this award because she brings, quite frankly, most of the cases to your foundation board. We have a debt to pay. We have a debt to pay, Jody, and this award is really just a down payment on that. So congratulations, Jody.
Thank you.
And thank you for your willingness to help others, as well as, frankly, all of us. Thank you.
Here. Catherine, that's for Catherine physical day. Family, you, and there's one of those guys. And then we know by process of elimination, I know what this one is. So if you can open up the certificate, again, as I mentioned, both Sandy and Catherine and Jody, the club sponsored the Paul Harris Fellowship for you. That's a great honor. And then many members of our club have donated money over the years in order to qualify for that. And if I could just read to you very quickly, for each of you, it indicates that you're named a Paul Harris Fellow, an appreciation of tangible and significant assistance given for the furtherance of better understanding and friendly relations among people of the world. So it's a remark from the club's point. This is really a small token for what all of the three of you have done for the communities over the years. And we just wanted to recognize the community service. So
Much
thank you very much.
appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Did you get anything, Alan?
And I should have mentioned that
Well, I can go over there and get it.
I should have mentioned, in addition to the certificate, there's also a Rotary pin, gonna go to camera, that you'll be getting as well. I'll mail it to both you, Sandy, and also I'll arrange to Mary Greenlee to get it to Catherine. Thank you very much.
Okay. Chin down a little, Jerry. I think maybe I left it on too long.
Something different. Yeah, I think we are done, yeah.
All right.
Sorry, I'm not gonna pin this.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you, Rich, and to the members of that committee, and to our awardees for all the hard work you guys have done.
Hey, Jerry, hold on.
Very much.
Camera number 2. We can repose for a second.
All right, we're gonna pause, I guess.
Okay, everybody in the picture and let me. Okay, ready? On three, you know how I count? 3. And one more, please. Oh, yeah, right. Flash, here we go. Ready on 3, 3. Come on, camera. There we go. All right.
Fantastic.
The AV department is rusty.
If we can all now regroup and turn our attention to this week's program, it'll be introduced by Mark Bieber. There he is.
Okay, I won't do too much of an intro because we'll just get right to the speaker, but Dr. Linda Lehmkuhl is the Chief Executive Officer of MedVet. She's got many, many accolades that I don't want to go into for sake of time, but just some background. Prior to joining MedVet, she was an assistant professor of cardiology at the Ohio State University Veterinary Medicine College from 1993 to 1999. She earned her Doctor of Veterinary Medicine from OSU in 1989. She then completed an internship in small animal medicine and surgery, followed by a residency in cardiology at Ohio State. During her residency, she earned her Master's of Science. When away from the hospitals, she enjoys traveling, reading, spending time with her husband, 3 adult children, and 3 dogs. So apparently you like your patients. So that's good to know. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Lehmkuhl.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Oh. Okay, how about like that?
Sure.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me, Mark, and including me in this great meeting. You guys have a great group, and I can't believe all the things the honorees have accomplished. It's makes what I do seem like nothing. So thank you for all you're doing. I'm thinking this is a great group. I love your mission. Just a little bit about MedVet is what I was going to talk about today. And I think I have very old knowledges of MedVet in the audience. I've got people that are frequent flyers in our hospital, and then maybe have people who have never heard of MedVet. So I'll try to make it interesting for both groups. So MedVet is a group of specialty emergency hospitals for pets. So we don't do people. Like George, we just do 4-legged creatures. Well, we do a little avian and exotics, but mainly dogs and cats. I joined MedVet, like Mark said, in January of 2000. MedVet was actually started in 1988. In Worthington, so we're very proud of that. Was started in 1988 by a surgeon named Bill Hoff, who George knows well. Really, Bill's mission was, well, now I just need to know how to make those go forward.
Left and right on.
All right. Bill maybe didn't state it this way, but what he was interested in doing was enhancing lives of pets, their loving families, and what we call the veterinary community, which are people like Dr. Norris. So all the general practitioners that practice in Columbus that you go to for your wellness care, and if your dog has a little vomiting and diarrhea, it needs to be spayed or castrated, that group of veterinarians needed someone to send to if the patient needed more than that. So they needed a cardiologist or an oncologist or a surgeon or a dermatologist, right? They had a problem that somebody who has to do everything needed additional help to get to the next level. So Bill was really interested in partnering with the community veterinarians to build a specialty emergency hospital, which doesn't do wellness care, doesn't do spays and castrations. It's the place you don't want to have to come, right? But if you do have to come, we're really happy we're there for you because we do provide that advanced care. So that's really where MedVet started. Where we are today is we have 31 hospitals that look a little bit like this. This is probably one of, you always pick a picture of the one that you think looks pretty good. This is a new location in Chicago for us. We purchased it back in 2016 and they finally got their new building in 2019. So it's a 60,000 square foot all on one floor. It's like a maze, you get lost. But so we now have 31 specialty emergency hospitals across the country. We have 9 in Ohio. We started in Ohio and it's really, where our administrative team still lives. We're right on 350 Wilson Bridge Road, and then the hospital's on 300 Wilson Bridge Road. So MedVet Columbus is still our largest hospital. Chicago's right on its heels. Just by a little bit. Every week I look and kind of see who's bigger. But we have quite a few hospitals now, and again, we're in 15 states. With a pretty strong presence in the Midwest because of the original starting. So in addition, what do we try to do with those specialty emergency hospitals? We have an unbelievable dedicated team. You know, people that choose to be in healthcare, whether it be for humans or animals, are always compassionate. I'm telling you, veterinary healthcare providers, it always breaks my heart. Sometimes people will be like, they'll get told by a client, you know, who's in a financial rough situation, often it's on ER, and they're like, oh, you're just in it for the money. If that could be less true about anyone in the world, it's veterinarians. They didn't pick this profession. They probably wouldn't have picked it had they known the finances, because the debt to revenue ratio for veterinarians is terrifying. Most of them graduate with about $240,000 of student debt. So they are very far from in it for the money. They are in it just like you guys are. They're servant leaders, right? They're in it to serve. Most of them get attracted because they want to serve pets. I know that's when I was a little kid, right? I wanted to be a veterinarian because I wanted to help pets. And then for most of us, the first day that you stand across from a client as the veterinarian, you realize, it's really not about that dog, it's about that person, right? And helping preserve that human animal bond as long as possible. And then for me, the journey became about the caregivers, right? If we help the caregivers, then we help all those people. So our team works exceptionally hard to try to deliver exceptional care to the pet, right? We're gonna get a great outcome for the pet. That's really why you come there, right? You want the pet to live as long as possible and feel as good as possible. And then we also care a lot about the experience of that pet parent, right? You know, because there's not always a good outcome, especially when you have to come to a specialty emergency hospital. But we want to make sure that the experience of that pet parent is as good as it can be. And as you can imagine, that's hard to deliver, especially every day, every time, which is what it has to be, right, to really count. Let's see. Again, super proud to have started in Columbus, Worthington in particular. We, I think I said we have 9 hospitals in Columbus, in Ohio now, because we're up in Cleveland, we're down in Cincinnati, and we have 3 actually in the Columbus metro area. So we have the big hospital in Worthington, and then we brought on an emergency hospital in Diley Hill about a year ago, and a hospital in Hilliard joined our team about 4 or 5 years ago. So our growth has been mainly through organically growing each hospital. And we're very proud of that growth. I'm always super proud of it because I feel like if you're growing, you're doing something right, right? People don't keep coming. People don't want to work for you unless you're doing some great things. So we're very proud that in the veterinary specialty emergency profession, we have by far the leading organic growth. Our team grows at about 15% organically at the hospital level. And for the profession, it's about 6 or 7%. So again, super proud of that. Team works really hard to deliver that. And then a lot of our growth has been acquisitional. So we did buy a fair number of small specialty emergency hospitals and then bring them to the same purpose, mission, vision, values, and what we want to do. So the real growth story from sort of the one hospital in Columbus, which was all we had until 2010, right? So we started in 1988. We had one hospital, the one in Worthington, until 2010. And then in 2010, we sort of decided, we think we have something special here. Let's try to provide it to more pets and more clients and more referral partners in the community. So we started buying small emergencies groups. A lot of times they were emergency centers that had been started back in the 70s and 80s. A lot of general practitioners decided, I don't really want to be on call all the time. Why don't we all come together in the area and create an emergency center? And so those, a whole bunch started across the country in the 70s and 80s. And by around 2010, a lot of them were looking for exit strategies, right? We've got this emergency center now. We have a lot of people that are looking to retire and they don't want to be part of this emergency group anymore. So in comes MedVet, and we give those great referral partner community veterinarians an exit strategy. We purchase the emergency center, and then we build a specialty emergency hospital at that location. So that's really been our main growth model since 2010. Again, I think I mentioned we have 30 locations, real heavy presence in the Midwest, right? Because the name, there's a few big groups, much bigger than us, that have specialty emergency hospitals across the country. Most of them don't brand their hospital, like they buy it, they keep it the same name, they don't change anything about it. They even say, join us, stay you. That's not MedVet. We say, join us, we're always working to get better. If you don't want to change, don't join us, because we're trying to develop best practices and be the best place to give and the best place to receive care. So if you don't want to change, don't join us. So, we get a select group because of that, but we're small and mighty. And a lot of those hospitals, because we do have that brand recognition, are in here regional. So we have a lot in the Midwest. Kind of a little interesting story how we went down south. Our very first surgery resident was a Southerner. So after he finished his surgery residency in Columbus, he went home for, what do you always tell me? Boiled peanuts. He had to get back to boiled peanuts. So he went back, he started a hospital, and then after a few years, he saw an opportunity in New Orleans, and he didn't want to tackle that alone. So he reached out and we went, we'll do it together. So a lot of that acquisitional growth was fairly organic because it was built on relationships with people that we had trained or been on faculty with. So a lot of the expansion is a little more organic than it looks. This is just an example of some of the other hospitals. So last year we had a big year. We bought 7 new locations and we added a teleradiology service. So our main line of service is specialty emergency hospitals, right? You can come in there and you can get your emergency care. You can see any specialist. And that's really most of what we do. But we have a desire or a vision to really be a continuum of care for the general practitioners that we really serve, right? That we really serve the veterinarians in the community. 80% of the patients that end up in our hospitals do so because the general practitioner said, you need to go see MedVet, right? So we really serve them and we want to meet them wherever they need us. So one place they need us is they don't want to send the patient and the client, but they want to send some tests. Like they want to send the radiographs to be evaluated by a radiologist. So we've, through acquisition, we bought a few leading teleradiology veterinary organizations, and we've grown out a national teleradiology organization called VetRad. It's owned by MedVet, but it has its own branding. And then we just recently went into something that's my favorite. We're starting de novos. So I mentioned the growth strategy was really growing each hospital, right, by adding more specialists, and then by buying these other hospitals and growing them. But when you buy a hospital, you got to do a lot of culture work sometimes, right? They have their own culture, and maybe it's a great culture, maybe it's not the culture that you want, right? Maybe our culture, we're really passionate, is based on teamwork, leadership, and compassion. And if we buy a hospital and it doesn't really have that culture, then we got years of work to get there. And we're always committed to doing it, but it's hard work. We've learned that over the years. So we decided to start one from scratch. We did our first one in Salt Lake in August of last year. And oh my gosh, if we could have future de novos, we call them de novos, start from scratch, that are a quarter as successful as that practice, that's all I would do for the future. I mean, it's so exciting because they had a new building and we recruited people that were all excited about that entrepreneurial, we're going to start something that has the culture we want and build a place to deliver the best care that we're proud of. It's like a magical culture. We love it. So we're really excited about doing additional de novos. We've got 5 cities picked out. We're looking for land and we're hoping to do some of those. The other reason I know most of you are pretty serious business men and women. The other reason acquisitions aren't as much fun is they've gotten crazy expensive. So our profession has weathered the recession. It's weathered the pandemic, sort of. I'll talk about that in a minute. And so people with a whole lot of money to invest these days are buying up veterinary hospitals. And so it's hard to buy them. We can't afford them because there's other people that are willing to spend a whole lot of money for them. Private equity groups, venture capital groups, et cetera. So de novos are us, I think, moving forward. I talked a little bit about how serious we are about culture. sometimes I take it for granted because it's what I grew up in. I was very blessed to have, I have a great husband and I have had 2 great male mentors. My husband calls them my work husbands. The first was my colleague at the university, and then the second was Eric Schertl, who was the CEO before me at MedVet. We both joined, he joined in 1999 and I joined in 2000. And I just always grew up both at the university and at MedVet in places that had a great culture, that people were kind, people cared about each other, people wanted to do the right thing. And I have friends that work outside, and as I've gotten older, I thought, oh my gosh, how do you go to work? If people aren't nice. But we really work hard to keep that culture, because as those of you know, if you don't tend the culture, one generates anyway, and it may not be the one that is the best place to work. So we really spend a whole lot of time talking to our team about our core values of teamwork, leadership, and compassion. They probably do compassion the best. They're born with that. That's why they picked healthcare. I'm super proud. We, do our client experience scores, NPS scores, if you will. And 93% of people in the last year, even despite all the stresses of COVID, feel like they were treated with compassion when they were at a MedVet hospital. I'll stand behind that all day long, right? Because it's really important. So I think our team does compassion really well. They do teamwork really well. Sometimes they get a little hung up on leadership. They think leadership means a people leader, and so we have to, every 2 weeks, I do new hire orientation, where I talk about our core values and really emphasize to them that everyone at MedVet is a leader. And it's about doing the right thing, making the best choice you can, stepping up when when it's not the right thing, you just own it transparently, you take accountability and you get back up and, give another swing, right? So we really work hard to create a culture around these core values. That includes celebrating them, right? We spend a lot of time celebrating them, recognizing people for them. And then what I always try to remind myself and the team, values really matter when they're hard, when it's hard, right? It's sometimes hard to live your values, right? Sometimes it's easy. When they matter is when it's hard. And that's when you have to make decisions that align with those core values. So we work really hard to stay true to that. And on that whole culture piece, it's like doing a residency in leadership for me, was figuring out why different hospitals have different cultures as we were early on that acquisition journey. And it's all about leaders. Have any of you guys been part of, what's the name of the group? Brian Kite.
Yes.
Say it again.
Leadership Worthington.
No.
Focus 3.
Focus 3. Thank you. I couldn't think of his name. That's horrible. I talked about him all the time. We used Focus 3 a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago now. Why don't do you guys? Some of you probably know him, but he's Ohio State sports teams all use it now. And that's how I actually first heard about it. It's a personal leadership packaging, but it's really great. They're just fantastic. Well, I had my kids all soccer players, and some of their friends played for Ohio State. And one day I heard a couple of the girls talking, and they were like, these great leadership lessons, and I'm like, where'd you learn all those lingo? And they're like, oh, we have to learn that as part of being a soccer player. And I was like, okay, I'm getting that group. So that's how I first heard about them. But one of their main mantras, I guess, is leaders drive culture, culture drives behavior, and behavior drives results. And if I had a penny for every time this gets reminded to me, by something I see in one of our hospitals, right? You finally transition and get some great, we have dyad leadership in our hospitals, a hospital director, a medical director, and all of a sudden the hospital starts to flourish, right? The employee engagement goes up, then the client experience scores go up, then the referral partner experience scores go up, right? And it all starts with great leaders that are driving a great culture. So we're very passionate about that. And we teach our team the E+R=O stuff as part of their journey with MedVet, because we think that's what we try to tell them is leadership, controlling their response, right? Staying above the line, doing the right thing. So we're real passionate about that. As I was looking up a little bit about the Rotary, because I didn't really know too much about you guys, what really struck me is I think where MedVet and this Rotary group are so similar is that our team and your team is all about helping the lives of those you serve, right? And for us, those we serve with, because our team has a lot of work to do. It's been a rough couple of years. I'm sure in all your professions and industries. For me, as a first-time CEO, I started in January 2019. What was I thinking? The first thing we did was recap. We needed $245 million, and I had to find that. So I spent 6 months doing that. That was a big learning curve. And then COVID came. which was terrifying, right? I mean, it's hard to remember those first few weeks, but I remember my CFO running to the bank and drawing on every loan we had, right? Because nobody knew it was going to happen. We didn't know if dogs were going to get it in the beginning, or were our caregivers going to get it from dogs and cats, right? I mean, it was a scary few months. And you guys know all the rest of the hard year that's been happening for our country. I am proud of how MedVet navigated COVID. We really took we kind of have 3 strategic pillars: deliver a great caregiver experience, that's our team; deliver a great MedVet experience, that's that exceptional experience we want to deliver for each patient, client, and our referral partners; and then grow in a healthy fashion. Well, when COVID came, we quickly pivoted to 3 pillars, which were protect and support our people, right? We had to keep our people healthy, and that was most important to us. We wanted to be able to provide at least essential care to pets, right? We might not be able to do electives. Remember in the beginning, the governor said vets don't do anything, which we were like, okay, but we're going to take care of those that are dying, right? We won't do elective knee surgeries, but we want to be there for essential care. So we really buckled down on that. And we wanted to do our part to preserve public health, right? We didn't want to use PPE if human healthcare didn't have it, and we didn't want to use drugs that they needed for people on ventilators. So we spent a lot of time doing that. And then, after a few months, things quieted down and we could get back to pretty much regular business for us. Not quite. We went curbside because, again, we wanted to protect our team. So we minimized client interface. We've been doing that for almost 18 months. It's been really hard. It's been hard on our team because they miss that client interface face to face and seeing the pet. So their mental health is just, been really negatively impacted by it. It's really hard on our clients, right? They're separated from their pet way more than we ever had to do. So we're ready to get back to have our clients in our exam rooms. We literally opened up 4 or 5 hospitals in May and June. And then, we kind of clamped them all back down when Delta surged. So we're still curbside only. There's a little lesson in agility for me as a leader. If somebody had said to me 6 months before COVID, could you switch how you deliver care in 30, especially emergency hospitals to curbside? Like, how long would it take? I'd be like, yeah, give me 6 months. We did it in a weekend. In a weekend, 31 hospitals went from seeing client, there's a lot of flow and process involved in delivering healthcare. And they got it all done, by not having clients in the building. So it was a good lesson in agility, right? When the why is clear and you really got to get it done, the team gets it done. But it's been a long year. And the veterinary profession is honestly kind of struggling, which is hard for me to say because I'm so passionate about our profession. I love it so much. There's 12 million new pets in the United States in 2020 because of COVID. Not really a surprise, right? Do you know anybody who doesn't have a COVID puppy? Right? I mean, everybody got a pet. And for good reason, right? Why do we need pets? They combat loneliness and depression and anxiety and all the things that are really hard in the world right now, right? So it's totally understandable that everybody got all these pets. We're thrilled about that. And we didn't create 12 million more healthcare deliverers. So we're, as a profession, there are emergency clinics closing. It's really a struggle right now for us to meet the needs of the communities we serve. And in hindsight, shame on us. We were kind of a profession that was delivering great care, doing great things, but we probably weren't innovating enough. We weren't embracing new technology. We weren't changing our processes aggressively. We weren't training enough people. We weren't developing kind of all the roles you have in human health care for the paraprofessionals because things were going okay. And then COVID just showed us, oh my gosh, we got a lot of work to do. We have to reimagine how we deliver healthcare, or we won't be able to serve the communities we care about because we don't have enough people. So we're really working hard to kind of develop new technologies and processes and train a whole bunch more veterinarians and what we call veterinary technicians, or like nurses, to meet the needs of all these new pets. So be patient with your general practitioner. They may have to bump you out further than you want, but they're working really hard to try to meet the needs. So yeah, that's my plea. Be really nice to your veterinarian and your healthcare provider. Oh my gosh, my oldest is a first-year ER resident, human healthcare. And I can almost not hear the stories that she comes home with, how much they're struggling with the same things, right? The sort of stresses around COVID, the stresses around there's not enough of them to meet the needs of the communities they serve. So we just got to be extra patient with all our healthcare providers because we know our healthcare is really important. So.
Yeah, we have time for questions.
I have questions. I have two opportunities for you
Okay.
to consider. You don't have to decide right now, but do it by 2 o'clock. First is, it's not too late to become a sponsor to our family picnic coming up this weekend. And it's not too late either to consider membership in this great group.
Can I just say real quick, I love your values, and working in an elementary school, I try to instill those same values, and I took a picture of it to say, hey, this is what you're gonna need, because at Hopewell Elementary, we have SOAR, safe choices, we need that in elementary. Own it, acceptance, respect, and yours are really
I love that.
quite aligned with that.
I
So,
love that.
Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing.
tell them a lot of them want to be veterinarians. They have to
do.
live
Oh,
those
everybody wants to be a
values.
vet. Every single student in my school wants to be a veterinarian.
Tell them yes. I'll give them a contract today.
All right, come on over.
So Linda, my wife was watching on Zoom and everybody here wants to know how you use the voice of the customer to create critical quality metrics that drive the performance of your clinics.
Great question.
Can you repeat it?
So the question was, how do we use the voice of our client to drive improvement? So what metrics do we use? So we use, do you guys Net Promoter Score? Familiar, anybody? It's it's a minus 100 to 100. And basically we ask every single patient that we serve, if you euthanize your pet, we don't send you a survey. We don't feel like that's appropriate. But every client that comes to a MedVet hospital gets a survey within a few days after their visit. And the leading question is something like, would you recommend MedVet to friends and family? That's sort of the NPS question. And they answered on a scale of 1 to 10. And the way Net Promoter Scores work, if somebody rates your organization, your product, whatever, an 8, 9, or a 10, they're called a promoter. It means they're telling their friends and family, you should go to MedVet if you have a sick pet. If they give you a 1 to 5, they're talking to their friends and family. Maybe it's up to 6. And they're saying, don't go there. And then if they give you like a 6, 7, or 8, they're not talking to their friends and family. That's kind of the basic principle of Net Promoter Score. We use it for 2 main reasons. We use it because we want our team to celebrate their successes, right? Because they're going to be a better caregiver if they're feeling good about their job, right? It's a nice positive reinforcement circle. So we survey every client because we give that feedback to our team, and teams put them on boards and walls and celebrate them all different ways. And then we do it to identify themes of improvement, right? And the survey, it has that leading question, but then it has like 30 questions, very detailed. And we use those Net Promoter Scores. We have a person who's the head of our experience score. She's doing Crestini, which is a human healthcare driver of patient experience, in their case, a set of clients for us. So she helps us take all that feedback, create it into themes that then get shared with the hospitals and the organization. So we work really hard on it. It's a little disappointing to me that the NPS scores don't go up quite as much as I thought they would with how hard we work. They're great, don't get me wrong. But I always thought like, oh, because we measure it, we talk about it, they'll like get better and better and better. They go up slow. And they have a lot of variability. But yeah, that's the main way we do the voice of our clients. Now, the voice of our referral partners is also really important, right? We have 2 clients. We serve you when you come in with your pet, but we're also serving the doctor who sent you to us, right? We're an extension of their practice. So we get their voice through surveys that we do, one big one every year. And then we do focus groups with them. So those are kind of the main metric, NPS score. We call it client experience score for our team.
Any other questions?
Veterinary care is expensive, and your care is even more expensive. Do you have any programs to help those who can't afford?
Great question. The question is, veterinary care is expensive. And unlike human healthcare, most people don't have insurance, right? So they're paying for it out of pocket. So what do we do to help that? It's a great question. It terrifies most of senior leaders in veterinary healthcare like myself. Specialty emergency healthcare has become for the elite. Specialty emergency healthcare, what we provide. And that doesn't make us happy. We can't even meet the needs of the elite right now. But it's a big problem, right? So what we do, it's not really our main mission, right? Our mission is leading specialty healthcare for pets. It's not providing care for everyone. It's hard for me to say it, but I got to be transparent, right? If that were our mission, we'd be doing different work. Our mission is to deliver elite care, and we do have to charge high prices for it, and it's hard. We do have a MedVet charitable foundation that has a fair amount of money in it, and we spend a fair amount of money out of it, that provides care grants to families. That it has certain criteria, like it has to be a curable disease, it has to be a demonstrated financial hardship on the part of the family, right? So we do MedVet Charitable Foundation grants, which are executed locally, but the fundraising is centrally. And then most of our hospitals have low care alternative handouts, like, because there are some groups that's their mission, right? Thrive and some other organizations, their mission is to serve lower income families that have pets, right? And love their pets. And so we have handouts at the clinics to deliver those. Those are really our two main. And then our teams are empowered across the organization. When a pet shows up with a life-threatening injury and the client has no money, we don't advertise this because we couldn't support it. But if they show up at our door and they have no money, the team can deliver life-saving care. We do that all day long, all the time. Again, we can't tell that to the public because we wouldn't be able to meet the needs, right? But if they show up at our door and they don't get turned away if the pet's unstable, the pet gets stabilized, the people get the bare, what we can do, give them a little sub-Q fluids, put them on antibiotics, and get them out the door as best as we can. So it's really hard for me to say that's, we aren't treating the homeless as pets. It's just not what we can do.
In service to my profession, I would hasten to mention there is also pet health insurance.
Yes, and that's, I think, going to be probably a positive for us as long as we don't go down some careful roads. But right now, about 2 to 5% of the United States pets are insured. In Europe, it's closer to 50. Well,
Thank you very much for sharing with us today. I think your passion is palpable. Everybody in the room can feel that. We appreciate that, MedVets is here in our community, so thank you. I know we're a little bit over time, but we do have a raffle, so let's get it going. Bonnie?
We have $13.
$13.
Yes.
I need to.
3, 4, 6, 400.
400.
Early one.
And there's $135 in the ace thing. 3, 4, 6, 4, 17.
417.
417.
417. Cards up here at the table.
I'll shuffle those. I
took the ace of spades out, so we're all good.
4 hearts.
4 hearts. Rip it up. All right. Before we adjourn, we have the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
Is it the truth?
Second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
Word.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And 4.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Okay. Are we close up?
Yeah.
Zoom.
Shut it down.
Take a taxi.